Python projects are no longer meant to stay hidden inside a terminal window, because whether you're building a small calculator, a text analyzer, a data tool, or a machine learning demo, people now expect to see something that they can actually click, type into, and test into a browser. And that is exactly why Gradio has become so useful. So as you know, Python is already one of the most used programming languages, with the Python Developers Survey reporting that around 72% of developers use Python professionally, and Gradio itself has grown into the popular open source tool with more than 42,000 GitHub stars. Now, what does Gradio actually mean? Well, in simple words, Gradio is a Python library that helps you turn your Python code into a simple web app. So instead of asking someone to open your code, run the commands and check results in the terminal, you can give them a clean interface with input boxes, buttons, file upload options, and outputs that can appear directly on the screen. So this is related to Python app building, project demos, data projects, and machine learning demos. But the best part here is that beginners don't only need to know HTML, CSS, or JavaScript to start using it. We are covering this topic because many learners can write Python functions but still struggle to present those functions like real-world applications. Now, Gradio solves that gap. This can help you test your work faster, explain your projects better, and share your ideas in a way that feels practical and easy to understand. So now that we understand why Gradio is useful, let's quickly look at what we're going to cover in this tutorial. Firstly, what is Gradio? We shall understand what Gradio does and how it turns Python code into a simple web app. Why use Gradio? We will see why Gradio is useful for testing, including presenting and sharing Python projects. Installation and setup. We will then create a project folder, set up a virtual environment, and install Gradio. Then we will move on to our first app demo. We will build a simple greeting app and run it in the browser. Text analyzer demo. Then we will create a better app that counts words, characters, and sentences. Sharing the app. We will then learn how to create public share link using Gradio. Finally, we'll move on to a quick recap, where we will revise the main steps so you can build your own Gradio app confidently. Before we move on, let me share something really exciting with you guys. If you're someone who wants to seriously build a career in generative AI and machine learning, then the Professional Certificate course in Generative AI and Machine Learning, in collaboration with Simplilearn and ENICT Academy IIT Kanpur, is something that you should definitely check out. This program is designed for learners and working professionals who don't just want to watch theory, but also want to actively build real skills through live online learning, hands-on practice, and industry-style projects. You get to learn important areas like Python, applied data science, machine learning, deep learning, generative AI, prompt engineer, NLP, computer vision, reinforcement learning, RAG, and even agentic AI. Along with that, the course gives you exposure to 30+ tools and libraries like Python, TensorFlow, Keras, NumPy, Scikit-learn, OpenCV, Hugging Face, LangChain, GitHub Copilot, Gradio, and more. What makes it even more useful is that the project-based learning, where you get to work on 18+ real-world projects, including capstones, so you're not learning about concepts, you're also building a portfolio that can show your real practical skills. You also get academic masterclasses from IIT Kanpur faculty. Along with hands-on AI use cases, career support through Simplilearn's Job Assist, and certificates that can help you strengthen your profile. So whether you're a beginner trying to move into machine learning, a data professional trying to upgrade, or a working professional who wants to stay relevant in the changing job market, this course can help you move from understanding AI to someone actually applying it in the real-world scenario. So you can find the link in the description box below. You can go check it out. Before we continue, here is a quick beginner-friendly question for you. What is Gradio mainly used for? Is it A, designing logos, B, building Python web apps, C, editing videos, or is it D, creating spreadsheets? Let us know your answers in the comments below. The moment someone asks you to show your Python work to a non-technical person, you hit a wall. Turning that code into something clickable and usable traditionally takes weeks of web development, front-end engineers, JavaScript, CSS, server configuration, and everything doesn't work. Gradio removes that wall entirely. So you get to write your Python function, whatever it does, and Gradio wraps it in a fully working interactive web application in just a few lines of code. No JavaScript, no CSS, no servers, and no web experience needed. And anyone on this planet can use the app through a browser link instantly. And the scale of it, this is not a niche developer tool. Gradio pulls in over 6 million downloads every month, and there are currently over 470,000 live Gradio apps running on Hugging Face spaces right now. And 1 in over a million developers use it every month. So the GitHub repository sits at over 42,000 stars, one of the clearest trust signals in open source world. Real world and real impact. Medical research teams are running real-time clinical trials with it. And one particular team publicly stated, Honestly, without Gradio, we would not be able to do a real-time clinic trial. Stable diffusion. So this is one of the most downloaded open source image generation tools on the planet and was originally built as Gradio interface. Enterprise engineers are building internal dashboards in 50 to 20 lines of code where the same work would have taken weeks before. Now, do you want to see what a Gradio-powered dashboard even looks like in action? Well, ideas become working prototypes in hours and not days. And what's new and why it matters more than ever? Well, the latest version supports real-time streaming, WebRTC, and live video, meaning now you can build real-time speech, webcam, and video applications in pure Python. It is also natively supporting MCP, which means your Gradio app can be called directly as a tool by large language models, making it a live building block inside the next generation of automated software pipelines. MCP servers work with Gradio, and this is also worth a look. The security of Gradio 5 was independently audited by Trial of Bits. So this is one of the most respected security firms in the world. So what you build on it is production ready and safe by default. The bottom line, Gradio collapses the gap between a working Python script and a shareable, usable product from weeks down to minutes. So for any team that's building with data or code, this is a genuine force multiplier. So for anyone wanting to go deeper after this, the complete beginner to advanced level breakdown lives here. And if you want ready-made templates and UI components to pair with your Gradio builds, one command is all it takes, and that's pip install Gradio, and you're ready to build. Now with that being said, let's move on to our demo. So from the previous lessons, you've already learned what Gradio could be. Now let's understand why exactly we use Gradio. So we use Gradio because it makes Python projects easier to test, show, and share. Suppose we have a written function that takes the name and returns a greeting. Without Gradio, we may test it only inside a terminal. But with Gradio, we can create an input box where the user types names and the result appears on the screen. So this makes the project feel like a real application. Another reason is speed. We can create a working interface in just a few lines of code. We don't need to create separate HTML pages, buttons, forms, or backend rules. Gradio handles the interface part for us. So this is also beginner friendly because we focus more on Python logic instead of worrying over web design. So whenever we want to quickly show a Python function as an interactive app, Gradio is a great option. So now that we know why Gradio is useful, let's quickly start with the actual setup and installation. So now to begin with, I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. You can also use another code editor, but VS Code is simple and commonly used. First, I'll create a project folder for this tutorial. So before that, let me move into our command prompt terminal and type the following command, which is make directory followed by Gradio basic tutorial. So now that the directory has been created, let's move into the folder using the command cd followed by Gradio basic tutorial. So now we're inside the folder. Here the first command creates a new folder called Gradio basic tutorial, and the second command moves us inside that folder. So now this keeps our tutorial files all in one place. Now let me go ahead and check the Python version. So for that, let me go ahead and type Python followed by version. So now this command shows which Python version is installed on the system. For the latest Gradio version, Python 3.10 or above is recommended. So if Python is installed correctly, we should be able to see the version number in the terminal, as you can see over here. Now let me go ahead and create a virtual environment. So for that, let me go ahead and type Python. So the virtual environment is like a separate workspace for this particular project. So this helps us install Gradio only for this project without affecting the Python projects on the other systems. So for Windows, I'm going to use this particular command, which is dot followed by scripts. So if you're using Mac or Linux, the command will be slightly different. You will have to add the word source before the line of code. So once the virtual environment is activated, you should be seeing a .venv at the beginning of your terminal line, which is as shown over here. So that means that our project environment is ready. Now let's go ahead and install Gradio. So for that, let me go ahead and type pip install upgrade Gradio. Now this command installs the latest Gradio package. The word pip is used to install Python packages. Upgrade makes sure that we get the latest available version, and Gradio is the package that we are installing. Once the installation is complete, we can confirm whether Gradio is installed properly or not. Let's wait for the installation to complete at this point. So as you can see, the installation is complete. Let's try to confirm whether Gradio has been installed properly or not. Now this particular command imports Gradio and prints the installed version. So if we see a version number, that means that Gradio is ready to use. So as you can see, we have a version number over here. Now let's go ahead and create our first Gradio app. Now we will create our first simple Gradio app. In VS Code, I will create a new Python file and name it as app.py. So now that I'm within my Gradio folder over here, I will create a file named app.py. So let me go ahead and create a new file and name it as app.py. So now let us write the code step by step. First we import Gradio followed by as_gr. Then we define a greet function with name. So now that we have a block of code ready, let's try and understand this code. First, we import Gradio as gr. So this brings the Gradio library into our Python file. Then we use as_gr so that we can write gr instead of writing the full word Gradio again and again. Now this is a common shortcut. Next, we create a function called greet. So now we create a function called greet. So this function takes one input called name, and inside that function, we return a greeting message. So if the user enters Rahul, the function will return hello Rahul, welcome to Gradio. Now comes the important Gradio part. We will create a demo. We create demo equals gr interface. So interface is used when we want to quickly connect a Python function to a simple web interface. So inside interface, we shall pass three main things. First, fn equals greet. So this tells us which function should run when the user gives input. Second, input equals text. So this tells Gradio to create a text input box. Third, outputs equals text. Now this tells Gradio to show the answer as text. Finally, we write demo launch. So this demo launch starts the Gradio app. When we run this file, Gradio will start a local web server and gives us the browser link. Now let's go ahead and run the app. So now let's move back to your command prompt, python app.py. Now once I run this command, the terminal will show a local URL. I will now open that URL on the browser. So instead of doing that, let me just go ahead and open this in File Explorer. Now let me just go ahead and run this. So as you can see, this is running on a local URL, which is http followed by the number. So let me go ahead and open this URL. Yeah. So as you can see, we can see a simple web page. So here is a text box where we can enter a name. So let me just type Rahul for an example and click on submit. So as you can see that the app returns hello Rahul, welcome to Gradio as the output. Now this means our Python function is now working through a web interface. Now let's test it with another name. I will type Simplilearn. So if I type and hit submit, yeah, the output is now hello Simplilearn, welcome to Gradio. So now the input goes from the browser to the Python function and the result comes back to the browser. Now that is the basic working of Gradio. So now that we have created our first app, let's improve it slightly by adding a title, description and example so that the app looks more complete. Now let's move on to your app.py and go ahead and modify the existing code with a new modification. So now in this updated code, the main function is still the same. The only difference is that we have added title, description and examples. Now the title appears at the top of that app and the description tells the user what the app does. So the examples give ready-made inputs that the users can click and test quickly. Now let me go ahead and run the app again. So now let's go ahead and open this link. So now when we open the app, it looks much better. We can see the title, description, input box, output area and example names. So this small change makes the app more understandable for users. So now that we understand the basic structure of Gradio app, let's move on to a slightly more useful example. So now that we have built a simple text analyzer app, the app will take a sentence or a paragraph as an input and return the exact number of words, number of characters, and number of sentences. So this is still beginner friendly, but it feels more useful than the basic greeting app. Now we will replace the code in app.py with this new code. So now let's go ahead and understand this code. First, we import Gradio as usual. Then we create a function called analyze text. So this function takes one input called text, and the text will come from the user through the Gradio app. Inside the function, we will write words equals text.split. So the split function breaks the text into separate words. For example, if the text is Python is easy, split will separate it into Python is and easy. Then we write word count equals length of words. So this counts how many words are present. This has been shown over here through this line of code. After that, we will calculate sentence count. Here we are counting exclamation marks and question marks. So this gives us a simple sentence count. And then we create a result message using an F string. So this allows us to place the value of word count, character count and sentence count inside the output message. Finally, we return the result. Now look at the Gradio interface part. This time, instead of writing input equals text, we are using gr text box. This can be seen as follows. So now this gives us more control over the input box. We set lines equal to 5, so the text box becomes larger. So now the text box becomes larger and we also add a placeholder message. A placeholder is the light text that appears inside the input box before the user types anything. So the output is still a text because we want to show a simple text result. So we also add a little description and title so that the user understands what the app does. So now let's go ahead and run the final app. So now let's go ahead and open the URL. So now when the app opens, we can see a larger text box. So I will go ahead and type this sample text. So let me just go ahead and type Python is an easy to learn language. Gradio makes Python apps more simple to access. So now this particular sentence is our first text analyzer. So now when I click submit, the app returns the word count, character count, and the sentence count, which can be seen as follows. So now this is doing some actual processing using Python. Now let's go ahead and make the output cleaner by using the label for the input and output. Now I'm going to update the code like this. Let's replace the earlier code with this new code. So in this particular version, we added a label inside the input text box. So this label tells the user what to enter, and we also changed the output from plain text to GR text box and gave it a label called text analysis result. So we also added examples so that the user can test the app quickly. Now I will run the app again. So when we run the app again, make sure to save the file before running it, or else we won't get the result. So yeah, let's now move ahead and open the link. So now this app looks more complete. It has a clear input label, a clear output label, a title, a description, and ready-made examples. So now this is a good beginner level Gradio project because it shows how we can connect a Python function with a clean user interface. So now that we have created a useful text analyzer, let's now learn how to share this app. So until now, we have been running the app locally. So this means it's running on our own system. But sometimes we may want to show the app to someone else. For example, we may want to send the app link to a friend, a teammate, a trainer, or an interviewer. So Gradio gives us a very simple way to create a temporary public link. So in order to do that, you will only need to add shared equals true inside the launch. Now here is the updated code for the same. So as you can see, the only change here is in the last line. So earlier we wrote the demo launch. Now we're only writing demo launch with shared equals true. So this tells Gradio to create a public link. And now let's go ahead and run the app. Don't forget to save the file before and when we run it. Yeah, so now let's go ahead and open this public link. So as you can see, after running the file, Gradio will show two types of links in the terminal. So one will be the local link, which is as shown over here. And this usually starts with 127.0.0.1. So that link will work on our own systems. And the second one is the public link, which is as seen over here. So this is the link that we can share with the others. And when someone opens that link, they can use the app from their browser. So let me just go ahead and open this for your reference. Okay. So as you can see, this is the link that we can share with others. So now this is very useful if we want to quickly show a project without deploying it manually. But for a serious project, we should still think about proper hosting. So for this beginner tutorial, share equals true is enough to understand how sharing works. And with that, we have finally come to the end of our Gradio tutorial. And that brings us to the end of this Gradio tutorial. We learned how Gradio helps us turn a normal Python function into a simple browser-based app, how to install it, how to build a basic app, and how to create a text analyzer. So keep practicing with small projects, change inputs and outputs, and try building your own simple tools using Gradio. Subscribe to Simplilearn for more such insights and check out our related videos.